can you see the PPT slide?
Right.
Okay, then I will start our final presentation, and I'm going to talking about how to realize the study. The presentation is conducted in order to realizing this study and the planning for the study. In the realizing system part, I'm going to how we pivot our idea and what's the benefit of our ideas, and the part for the plan for this study, I'm going to talking about the preparation of this study and energy mix plan and our brief sketch. First, I'm going to discuss about how to make a study in the reality. In our first and second presentation, we say that the self-sufficiency studying on the high sea, but we figure out there is no way to solve the resource problems such as food to make the people to have the same lifestyle on the mainland and this is studying. So we did some pivoting on our original plan. So we would like to propose our studying as an extension method of the coastal city. Until now, the expansion plan for the coastal city is by the obtain land through reclamation, such as the Songdo in Incheon and the Marine City in Busan. And we argue that the floating city by studying is a better solution than the reclamation. Economically, this studying is cheaper than the dredging, and in addition, the cost of the land is low compared to the construction cost. And there is more benefit than reclamations. First, I already said it is a cheaper option than the reclamation. Second, it is free from soil liquefaction and substance occurring in the reclaimed land. Soil liquefaction is a serious problem. It considers the cause of the disaster of the Kobe earthquake in Japan. So we need to prevent these problems. And next, reclamation project destroy the ecosystem by blocking the sea, but sea studying can protect the ecosystem by keeping the sea beneath the system. Finally, we can use the system as a tourism resources, such as creating the natural aquarium by using the space under the system. And I will going to present or plan for our system. Incheon and Busan, which we compared the prices before, both cities have to create the reclamation project. For Songdo, there are 115,000 people remain. For the Marine City, Busan Hyundai, 5,000 people are remain. We assume our system project will have the 150,000 population, which needs 750 system modules are needed, because we assume that one system module have a 200 population. The plan has shifted from the self-sufficient model to the extension module. The food and the waste is not a problem anymore. So it can be transported by the car and truck between system and mainland, and by transporting the food and the trash problem. But the water pipe and power transmission power can be broken during the bad weather. Thus, it is more safe to have a floating power plant and water station in the system than the transporting the electricity and water from the mainland to the system. It can be because the water pipe and the power transmission power can be destroyed during the harsh weather conditions such as typhoon. And in second presentation, we calculated that the 14 megawatt hour of electricity consumed at home each month. In addition, the monthly amount of electricity consumed by water is 12 megawatt hour per month. Therefore, the amount of electricity system requires per month is 52 megawatts for each module. We have 750 modules for our project. Thus, the total energy consumption is 6 megawatt electric. Then we need to consider how to produce this electric consumption, and the important thing is the energy mix. The energy mix need to consider two things. First is base load power, and second is peaking power. The sum of base load and peaking power is the total electric power for the energy grid. Then, what is the base load power? Base load power is the minimum amount of electric power needed to be supplied to the electric grid at any given time. Thus, base load power must be supplied by constant and reliable source of electricity. Usually, coal power plants and the nuclear power plants are used for base load power. You can see in the right graph that the nuclear power and coal power are using in the base load power. However, 60 megawatt is too small to produce in the typical coal power plants and nuclear power plants. They usually generate 1,000 megawatts for the single power plant. It is too huge than the 60 megawatt. So we suggest to use a small modular reactor, SMR, for a solution. SMR allow for the less on-site construction, increase containment efficiency, and enhance safety due to passive nuclear safety feature. So it is the cheaper, better, and safer nuclear system than the original one, and have a lower power that is matched to our system. The example, there is already have an example for the 60 megawatt electric SMR that can be used as a base load power source, include the Capco ENC's Bandy 60 and the NuScale SMR. The good things of the Bandy 60 reactor is already developed that to be a floating power plant like this. So it can be simply just put in this station near the system can be an electrical solution. And next, we need to thinking about the peaking power. Peaking power is electricity used at the highest point during the day. Thus, the peaking power plant needs to meet the fluctuating needs, and most often, the peaking powers occurs in the afternoon and the evening. So we need to make more electricity on the afternoon and evening than the night or morning. And we think that renewable energy is the solution for the peaking power because of the period that high energy demands coincidence with the period of the high efficiency of solar power and wind power. For example, the summer have a higher peaking power due to air conditioner, and it also have a high possible electricity generation due to the high solar energy power. Also, for the emergency conditions such as rainy seasons and cloudy days, ESS, energy storage system, is needed. So a combination of 10 megawatt electricity scale of solar power plants and wind power plants with a sufficient amount of ESS is enough for our system peaking power solution. So this is our brief sketch for system project. 75 system modules are connected with the main LAN by a bridge. People and resources as common goes through these bridges. Electric and water supply need for system are supplied by the floating power plants and the seawater desalination facilities. And this is our reference. And thank you for listening our final presentation. Do you have some question?
Okay, so question or comment from the other team, team 2? No question? Then TA, please.
Okay. First of all, thank you for your nice presentation. It was
Can you
not-
speak louder?
Yes. Thank you for your presentation, first of all. What I liked about the presentation is that you focused mainly on the energy supply problem, and you dig very deep into that in details. And I have one question, is that do you actually need a power plant beside the modules? Like, what was the reason that you said that you could not use the power source from the mainland?
I think that to supply the power to this test, we need energy electrical tower on to the mainland to the sea, and when the tower is broken, have a damage during the typhoon or something, and it is very hard to restore the restore it, and the total city is break out due to the one power station. So I think it is more safer to have a station, another station in the near the system to easy to
Yeah, okay, I get the idea. Yeah, I'm no expert in that field, but what came up in my mind was that maybe you could just use the power cable buried down below the ground or underwater, just like many islands in this country are doing currently. It's just my simple thought, and other than that, I like the presentation. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Right. Any other question or comment from other student? No, then my one. Your topic from starting point. We have a 3 presentation. Each time you have a big changes. I understand it can be, any project can be changing, but in any case, you need to explain that changes. So you need to start from something, and second time, midterm, you changed a little bit. Now you arrive at very different idea from the starting. But it's okay, but you need to explain why that kind of changes are made. That is important for any project, not only this project, for your future project. All right, and then the cheaper, you said stating it cheaper than land reclamation, something. Can you show the page at the front? All right. Oh, you showed us cost. So it's half cost. This is for, because this area is very, the land cost is very high, right? The Haeundae and Songdo land cost is high. And also Korea land cost is high. And I understand, I agree that where the population density is high, then the cost of land is high, so that we can introduce floating land, right, to relieve the such a pressure. Anyway, so you need, then you need to choose such an area, a populated area, and also the cost of land is very high. Right? So that kind of explanation should be given to us. Right? And the megawatt E and megawatt H, I do not well know about this difference between megawatt H and megawatt E. Can you explain a little bit more?
The megawatt H is the megawatt hour. The times of the total energy, and the megawatt E is megawatt electric. That the megawatt of energy produced from the electricity. So the megawatt E multiplied by the time will be the megawatt hour.
Anyway, their number is similar, 52 and 60, but you are saying that 750 modules can use 60 megawatt E, right?
Because
so that I guess that megawatt E is about 700 times bigger than megawatt H.
The megawatt, because I calculated that the megawatt H in the per month, and the megawatt is for the each second. So
anyway, please provide the background information about this. Otherwise, I cannot understand what.
Okay.
All right, and then peak power, right? Okay. All right. Because you solar and next page, solar and wind and something. Right here, ESS, right? So you mentioned that peak power needed during afternoon and evening, early evening, right? And that is about, say, 10% higher than baseline, let's say, requirement, something like that. And that amount can be 5 megawatt E something, right? And then I want to see the fluctuation of solar plant based on time. I don't know, you can get some picture from Google search time-wise, because sunrise, sunset, also seasonal, and also weather-wise, there is a fluctuation. But anyway, also wind, I cannot see there is you cannot get any graph on output graph from wind plant, because we cannot predict well. There is no periodical fluctuation in wind plant. It is irregular, right? So I don't know how, but anyway, you need to draw a graph that gives you a solar plant fluctuation and also wind plant fluctuation. And then together with the ESS, that can support the peak hours during the afternoon and evening. That kind of graph can be very good. But I don't know whether you can provide. Right, yeah. Also, subsea cable, already you mentioned that. I guess that can be much cheaper than nuclear installation, because it is just nearby the city, right? Port. So cabling distance is short. If you mention, your original idea was independent city between nations, right? so it's far away from the land side, then the cabling cost can be higher. So in that case, you may compare whether having a nuclear power plant there or cabling, right? But in this case, I'm sure that cabling cost can be cheaper than nuclear plant. But anyway, that kind of explanation should be given to us. All right, it's good. That's enough for today. And also you have a time, both of you, to submit a modified version by end of today, midnight today. So then tomorrow we will grade. TA and myself will grade. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Then we can move on to team 2, please. Adib will, right.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so for our final presentation, we are going to address a lot of the issues that were presented to us during the midterm presentation. So just to recap, our team is proposed a project about a Korean themed cruise ship. This was the concept sketch of our cruise ship, and these were the main attractions. So 3 of our main attractions were Seoul Forest, Dongdaemun Street, and Hanok Architect. The Seoul Forest was about having a green park made out of artificial grass turf on the top deck. The Dongdaemun Street was a shopping street inside our cruise ship that was modeled after the Dongdaemun Market Street in Korea. And also we are taking a lot of Hanok architecture influences, and we are combining that, we are integrating that into our cruise ship. We are pursuing a catamaran hull form for our ship, and the main reason was it is much more stable, and it lends itself to a much more comfortable ride for the passengers. And we discussed several safety features, and the standard features for our ship are that we are planning to use inflatable lifeboat instead of the regular lifeboat that are attached to the side of a cruise ship. This would allow us to install a lot more lifeboat in a smaller space. And since COVID is fresh in our memory, we proposed an idea of having a negative pressure room in our cruise ship, which would help to contain any kind of spread of infectious disease. We also gave an estimated cost of about $1.5 billion to build our 300 meter long catamaran cruise ship. This is actually 300 meter in axis, but length overall is 350. So the aim of this, my teammate Sungmin and Yu Sang did an excellent job of presenting how we were going to realize all of this in our previous presentation. So in this presentation, the aim is to address several issues that were brought up by the other team and also the TA and professors. So we aim to address this. So one point that was brought up was that we should keep the COVID situation in plan, and we should prevent any kind of future outbreak in cruise ship. We might remember the Diamond Princess cruise ship, which in early 2020 was had the second most amount of infections in the world after China. So we want to prevent any kind of outbreak if it happened in the future. So usually doctors on a cruise ship are not usually specialists. They are usually general purpose doctors. And in fact, there are no international maritime regulation that requires a doctor to be aboard a ship specifically for passengers. There are some rules to have doctors for cruise, but there are no specific rules for passengers. So in addition to having a general purpose medical team, we also plan to have an infectious disease team in our within our crew. This, with conjunction with the negative pressure chamber, will help us to identify any kind of potential outbreak, and it will allow us to contain that outbreak inside the negative pressure chamber room, so that we can prevent any kind of widespread outbreak. And it's not only COVID-19. With globalization, it is evident that more outbreaks and more epidemics are like this are bound to happen. So an infectious disease team with conjunction to the negative pressure room proposed in our midterm presentation would be a good idea to prevent any widespread outbreak. Another point that was made was that can our cruise ship actually enter the ports? Like, which ports can our cruise ship enter? Because our cruise ship is a fairly large size cruise ship. So we did a little bit of research on that, and we found out that the international limit to be an international port is so an international port is bound to have a depth of 12-meter water depth. So we looked at the length and depth of different international ports. So, for example, in Korea, the international cruise terminal in Incheon has a water depth of about 12-meter and a length of 430 meter. Busan has a slightly smaller port. It can accommodate a ship of a length of 360 meter and has a water depth of 12-meter. We also looked at other international cruise terminals in China. So in Shanghai, Shanghai Wusongkou Cruise Terminal, the water depth is 13-meter. And in Yangtze River, it's also 13-meter, and in Tianjin, it's 11.5 meter. So and also in Japan, the length of port is 450-meter, water depth of 12-meter, and in Osaka, the water depth is 11-meter. The reason we are bringing up these stats is that for a ship to enter a port, it needs to it needs to qualify this specification of the cruise of the terminal of the port. So initially, the specification and dimensions of our cruise ship had a length overall of 350 meter, and we proposed a design draft of 15-meter. But as we have seen, most of the international ports has water depth of about 11 to 12 meter. So we changed our design and we reduced the draft of our cruise ship to 11 meter, and then we updated the buoyancy calculator. And this is about the deck plan. Our cruise ship, we are planning to have a 10-deck long or 10-deck high cruise ship. So in the first deck, that is the upper deck, we plan to have the soul forest, that is the park of our cruise ship. And then we are also planning to have a swimming pool, so people can do different kind of recreational activity in the top deck. So also, in addition to that, we are planning to install a transparent glass panel in the middle portion. And the reason for that is we wanted sunlight to enter into our Dongdaemun Street. So the Dongdaemun Street will take will take the will take the second to the sixth deck of our cruise ship. And the main reason is we wanted to emulate what a normal Korean market street looks like. So it usually has multi-storied building which has different kind of shops, different kind of activities such as Norebangs and PCbang in different level. So we are trying to emulate that with tall shops, a street market, a lively street market with different kind of activities such as busking. And also we are planning to have a concert hall as well as different kind of bars, different kind of restaurants, and a high fashion market, high fashion shops. So having this glass panel will allow natural sunlight to enter, and it will give the entire space an actual vibe of being in a market in Korea. From the 7th to the 10th deck, we are planning to have our housing and residential areas. We have divided our room types into several suites. So the top Buji level suites are the penthouse suite, royal suite, soul suite, Hanyan suite, concierge suite, and the family stateroom. And the ocean view stateroom and the inside stateroom will make most of the rooms as they're catered towards the majority of our customers. So there will be like the normal level rooms. And this is deck 7, so the more expensive and luxurious suites will be upper in the deck, and the more normal regular suites will be in the lower deck, and it will take 4 of the deck spaces. We have also color coded for your convenience which suit goes there. And so we have several different kind of suites. So for example, penthouse suite and royal suite. So they're all luxurious suite, but our ship has this concept of having two different style of room. So one, we have a Korean style room which takes a lot of which basically takes the Korean style. For example, we are planning to have ondo installed, and then we are planning to have beds, like traditional Korean beds, which are right on top of the ground. So that kind of room is the Korean style room. So for example, Hanyan suite of our ship will be a Korean style room, but we don't want to exclude customers who are not interested in the Korean style room, and for them we propose fusion style room, which takes some element of the Hanok style and Korean style rooms, and it fuses it with a Western style room. And for example, Varanda State room in our cruise ship will have this kind of Western style to it. We have also calculated the number of rooms for each suite, and then we have also calculated, or we have calculated the room sizes for each room. And as you can see, see the penthouse suite is the largest, and they are also quite large, and they have verandas with it. And these are the regular rooms with a size of 16 meters square, still plenty big for a regular size room. And also these rooms makes up the large majority of our rooms, and these rooms will be the reason of how we make most of our money from ticket sales. We also have labeled what kind of room each suite is. So, for example, penthouse will have more of a fusion style, whereas Hanyang will have more of a traditional Korean style. And here are the prices for 8 days. So, our cruise ship, the duration for our cruise will be about 8 days. For an 8-day vacation in a penthouse suite will cost about $11,099, whereas an ocean view stateroom or an inside stateroom will be about 1,100 and 800 USD per 8 days. So we are catering to a wide variety of customers from different demographics. So in that, we have a total room of 1,272 rooms, and if all the rooms are occupied, we are expecting $1.8 million revenue just from the rooms alone, without any other on-board purchase or casinos, etc. And regarding the finance, oh, well, the elephant in the room is that COVID-19 has impacted the cruising industry in a really negative way. And probably this was the worst depression in terms of economic aspect of cruising in a long time. However, given the negative impact that coronavirus had, cruise lines are taking this off period to restructure their fleet. So a lot of the large cruise ships, cruise liners, they had cruise ships which were very old and inefficient. However, they had to keep on running them because demands for cruise ship was high. And in fact, right before the coronavirus pandemic, cruise ship was extremely profitable. So they were unable to easily sell or scrap their old inefficient ship. And we are seeing a lot of big cruise liners replacing their old cruise ship with a newer, better ship. So, for example, the P&O Cruise Line in the UK just recently, a few months ago, took delivery of the Iona cruise ship, which will be the first cruise ship to run entirely on liquefied natural gas. So this off period due to COVID-19 is allowing cruise liners to upgrade their cruise ship to be more efficient and more greener. And also, other than that, as COVID-19 is getting better, as the vaccination effort is continuing, so indicators show that there will be an increased demand for cruise lines when the cruising industry opens up, and it is identified because a lot of customers who booked their trips did not cancel due to COVID-19, but they just rebooked it. And still, right now, a lot of new bookings are coming in. So most cruise lines are optimistic that the cruising industry will bounce back after we are done dealing with COVID-19. As a result, a lot of cruise liners, they did not cancel their orders for cruise ship. And in fact, some of them are ordering ship because they're optimistic that they will be able to recuperate that money. So the reason we are bringing this up is that a very natural question could be, why would anyone want to buy our cruise ship during a pandemic? So as noted here, there is still a very real demand for new improved cruise ship. And, and in addition to that, our cruise ship also has the concept of being a Korean themed cruise ship. And it is really evident that the Hallyu wave has done a lot for Korea's economy in general. As more people are interested in Korean culture, they are willing to spend more money to explore Korea or have Korean cultural experiences. And we have mentioned it in our previous midterm presentation, how we are planning to uh, take those Korean cultures and use that as an attraction point for our cruise ship. And in addition to that, there are a lot of new demand for cruising in Asia itself. So, so there is a real demand for a cruise ship that is similar to ours. We are expecting large cruise liners, for example, Norwegian and Carnival, to be our main buyer for this interesting concept, which is the Korean theme cruise ship. We also did an average revenue and expenses breakdown to show you how profitable being in the cruising industry would be. This was this figure was taken from 2018 of an average cruise ship. The source was from Carnival Corporation. And here we see that a large portion of the revenue comes from the ticket sale itself. And we have showed previously that if our cruise ship was to be booked completely, we are expecting a revenue of $1.8 million only from the ticket sales itself. So in addition to that, we have onboard spending, which makes up a large portion as well, in addition to casino, bar, shore excursion, etc. And if we take the average expenses, we can expect at least a profit margin of about 12.7%, which is better than most investment and investors. So in lieu of all this information, this was the specification and dimension proposed by Sungmin in the midterm presentation. We have updated it to reflect the issue with port size, and we have calculated the number of passengers our ship can take, and this is the minimum. This is the minimum amount of passengers, but we can easily take about 3,500 passengers in our cruise ship. So all in all, this cruise ship makes an excellent project for any investors to invest. So with that, this is the end of our presentation. I would like to thank the professor, the TA, my teammates, Salmin and Nissan, and also Kion and Derek for being such a wonderful participant of this course. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Thank you. Question from Team 1, please. No? And TA?
Okay, so
No, you are muted, Jihu.
okay, at first I was worried that it seemed like the preparation of COVID-19 and listing the harbor sizes were going to be the main story of the presentation, but thankfully you then focused more on the original concept of the project, and you reinforced the tiny details throughout the whole cruise ship. And overall, I like the idea of making the ship to be like a little Seoul by benchmarking major tourism spots in Seoul. Also, it was very impressive that you looked at the project target in a various point of view, including the engineering, tourism, and financial aspects. And lastly, your PPT was so clean and neat, making us much easier to follow. Yep, that's it. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Ji. So a lot of the aesthetic contribution is by Yun-Sung. He is an excellent designer.
I kind of expected that.
Any more comment or question from Timon? Okay, my one is that, yeah, you made good progress since midterm exam presentation. About the corona, COVID, my suggestion is about vaccine. I heard that United States, when any traveler is coming to United States airport, they will get a vaccine at the airport. So somebody from Korea trying to travel to United States to get vaccination. So traveling also vaccination together. Right? So cruise ship can also do similar things. Try, I don't know the exactly, but it can be a kind of traveling, sightseeing point, good point. So when entering the cruise ship, their travelers can get vaccine. And then for the 3 or 4 days, doctor and medical team is supporting them. And after traveling 1 or 2 weeks of cruising, when they leave the ship, they are well vaccinated. Then it can be another additional advantage to invite more travelers. Think about this. And then page 15, or you showed us total buoyancy. Can I see the slide again? Page 15, right here. At the bottom, you showed us buoyancy about 120,000 ton. But, and then you showed in page 27, this one. This one shows about 220 GT. But you said in 15 is a buoyancy. Buoyancy usually goes to displacement, but displacement here is 265,000. So there is a mismatch. So you need to provide, how do you get these numbers from dimensions? There is a simple, if you use this CB, you provide a CB as a 0.6. By using draft and length and breadth and CB, you can arrive at displacement. So, but this is a twin hull, so you need to try single hull calculation and multiply by 2. That gives you an exact displacement. So anyway, you need to be clear about this. And usually the GT is different. GT is based on volume rather than weight. So there is a special rule for calculating GT. I don't know how do you, but there is a also the empirical formula, which provide you a GT based on principal dimensions, L, B, T, and depth and something. In any case, you need to provide us how do you arrive at these numbers. Okay? Third point, concertor. If you are pursuing a Korean market style cruise ship, then you need to use BTS or Idol as a showroom concertor for them. Probably during the cruise traveling, several Idol team can visit the ship through the helicopter by using helicopter and then have a concert in the ship. That can be a good idea to attract more people. All right. So that's it. Good. Thank you for your presentation and participation. I hope you enjoyed the class and also learned something about ship and ocean. And you have a time until midnight today to modify your presentation file and submit again. Anyway, thank you,
Professor.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Bye now.